Okay, we are live here, EON Reality Podcast. So, welcome everybody around the world to the EON Reality Podcast. I'm very honored today to talk to high energy Mr. Donnell Layne. And Donnell, I know we've met at least once somewhere, but we have a lot in common, I think. So, I think this is going to be a really fun and enlightening, engaging conversation for everybody. I'll do a brief introduction. Donnell Layne is newer to Moreno Valley, and actually I passed by Moreno Valley yesterday on my way to Indian Wells to watch some tennis. He, as a leading edge educator and technology executive, Mr. Layne is a wonderful addition to the nonprofit and community college space, and he's from New York and a Knicks fan. All right, go Knicks. He has a background in IT. He went to Cornell University. That's fantastic, studying the African diaspora. We should talk about that. And history stuff. Fantastic. He worked in industry and returned to school to complete engineering work, summa cum laude. I don't know how to pronounce that. And then from Northwestern, and has been working as CEO, project management consultant, and now he's at Moreno Valley, really taking leadership in the Makerspace and Innovation Center, which is an amazing thing for our students in the community colleges. So excited to have you here, Donnell. And I just wonder, so I would love if you give just a little bit of rundown on Moreno Valley and the students, how many students and what's going on in Moreno Valley.
Fantastic. Thank you for having me today. It's great to be with you. So Moreno Valley, where is it on the map? Southern California. That's where we are. That's what we like to call home. What are we known for? This is if you are familiar with Riverside. So we're known for like the tangerines and like those really like small like oranges that you find. Like that was invented in Riverside. Like so we're like right next door to Riverside. On your way, we're like 3 hours from Vegas, about an hour and a half from San Diego, just to get some proximity there. About an hour, I believe, from Palm Springs. So we serve over, I want to say 10,000 students. We have a population here. We are considered a Hispanic serving institution. Our population is over 60% Hispanic. So we have a particular designation that allows us access to particular resources from the government, like Department of Education. So that's how I came along. So I actually came along as part of an HSI, Hispanic Serving Institution, Title III Part F grant from the Department of Education, which we won back around 2016 to build a makerspace, right? And a mobile makerspace. And so interestingly enough, I had just burned out from all that stuff that you read off of, about the things I did in the past, and jumped in my car and I ran for safety. I went west and I was headed towards the beach. And so in this like switch or I don't know what you want to call it. I want to say a realization of what I wanted to do with the rest of my life didn't include freezing winters in the middle of the United States of America. So as I came west, I wanted to build a lab, and I made it like my 7-year goal that I was going to build a lab that was going to farm coral. And I was going to replace coral, and I was going to make it my hobby, right? Like my whole goal is to like make whatever I love the seat of what I do. And so that was the goal. And so I got in my car and I drove, and a whole bunch of things happened. And I slept on the floor for about 3.5 to 4 years. Sometimes it feels like 4.5 years. And I wouldn't get up. And so interestingly enough, while I was building the Makerspace, while I was building the Mobile Innovation Center, I was sleeping on the floor when we had the grand opening for the center. And I'm shaking hands with the mayor. I was going home and getting back onto the floor in an exercise of becoming conscious of my or aware of my living state, my true physical reality as opposed to the virtual reality that I was existing in my mind. And I think that has something to do with what we're talking about today. So now I'm out in the world completely manifesting my own destiny. What happens? All of a sudden, off my floor bed, I'm like, okay, time to make some money. I ran out of all my money that I burned through that I left Chicago with. And so I got to make some money. So I'm looking online for different things to do. And lo and behold, Moreno Valley College had a position for the director of a makerspace. So I had just spent 2 years as a member of a makerspace in Chicago, the Polsky Center for the University of Chicago. And so I knew everything about a makerspace at that point. And so it was all weird. And so, hence, the building a laboratory, I got all these ideas from being immersed in a makerspace. And so, it happened to be 5 minutes away driving distance from where I lived. 5 minutes. Well, let me say 15. Let me not sound so perfect, right? And so, and I'm not kidding. And so I applied. Like my mom has gone to the school, my nephew has gone to the school. They're like, yeah, this is a great school. You guys should try. And so, what is that? 4.5 years later, we now have a 4,150 square foot physical makerspace in the Science and Technology building. We have a 39-foot RV that is our mobile makerspace that's full of a ton of like really cool cutting edge equipment. We have a multitude of 3D printers, over 27 in total. We have between the two makerspaces. We also ended up creating a virtual makerspace to handle the global pandemic, so that we can continue to serve our student population while we were not able to gather together physically. So it's been a real ride here in Moreno Valley.
Oh, I got to ask because my bachelor's degree is in biomedical engineering, and I learned how to make stuff. I think that's what brought me into engineering. I learned from early on, I didn't have like extra ways to like get stuff. So I made my own speakers, my own stereo, my own television tubes, like the whole 9 yards. And so do you have what drew you to Makerspace and making things?
This is this is a great question. So, everyone, in this journey of learning myself, it's like one of the things I kept saying, one of the words that kept coming out, I'm a free bird. I'm a free bird. I'm a free bird. So I love this whole like freedom thing, this whole idea of freedom. Like one of the great quotes, right? Like, live free or die, right? That's like my motto, right? Like there's no other purpose, out there. So with that being said, we're in a society where if you want to, become an engineer, you have to do certain things, you have to check certain boxes, and you become an engineer. If you want to become a chemist, if you want to become, X, right? Yeah. And being a big black male, I'm 6'5", I'm like 200, and at this point, I think I'm like just 200 pounds. Let's just say that, right? Like walking through the world is different. Unfortunately, it responds in a little different way. I have to say, and so my pathways have been impacted in different ways, right? Like with some interesting experiences along the way, not so good, if you can imagine. And so the idea of being free to make whatever I want, to learn in a makerspace, right? The process of design thinking, of being able to take this like amorphous idea, this thing that doesn't have any atoms to it, it's just electrons at this point. It's just like, electrical potentials. It's just chemical gradients in your brain that's producing what we think are thoughts, right? And then, to be able to take that, visualize that, put that in a digital space, right? To design that in a digital space, to then work with different materials and different instruments and tools that will allow me to visualize and create this in a physical space, right? Like, and then show others, teach others, create community around. Like the makerspace has been a Shangri-La in reference to a person that likes freedom, loves community, wants to feel free and happy. I think everyone wants that. And I feel like a makerspace gives a great opportunity for that to happen.
That makes a lot of sense. And, I think that students now that have access to that, it's amazing, because I think, kind of growing up, we learned a lot of stuff where we didn't know what it meant. And I know a lot of students say, like, why am I in this math class? And why am I in this physics class? Like, I don't know what any of this means. And it's really about what it means. And I think the key to virtual reality and augmented reality that I work on every day is helping people to visualize. And I came to that conclusion. So like, if you're teaching something that's maybe it doesn't seem visual, it still relates to something real. So even if you're doing something like very important tasks like accounting, it's still affecting a business. It's something visual that's happening in real life. It's not just equations. So that's, I think, the thing that maybe that's why I'm here. I mean, that creative space. And for me, it's all, I have to fire those same things happening in my brain. So for me, you might have the same experience. I have to see something. I'm also a musician. So like if I play, I go through and I listen to all these sounds and I hear something or I get a beat down or something like that. Something happens in my head and I can hear like the song. Then I'm composing music. Right now I'm composing a vampire movie. So I'll find something. And then it just, something happens. And I think the same with visually. When I see something like, so I teach film and television, but when I see, and we'll talk about our special characters, Batman, I can go pull down 100 free assets and making some experiences. And I'll share that with you in a little bit, just to show you like what that thinking is like and how it relates to actual fields and to prepare our students for workforce, whether it's K-12, higher ed or professional schools, medical schools.
Right. And exactly. And when I'm listening to you, I hear you as a particular type of learner, quote unquote, like you perceive the world in a certain way and it gets reproduced inside of you and then exported out of you in a particular way. And I feel like that's what virtual reality affords us, right? We are no longer sitting back, listening to one person conceive of the world and then spit it back out the way they understand it, which is fine. And there might be a group of individuals, sometimes 10. We've learned from the Gaussian curve, right? It's typically only that much, right? 10%, right? Like, so we know that like only a few are going to be able to get it your way. So if a few are getting it your way, and then now we see that virtual reality, what is this, Burger King? You can have it I don't know what the slogan is, right? So we can have it our way now, right? And be able to like immerse ourselves and I'm learning like, with virtual reality, like being able to remember something, not just with our head, but with our entire body, right? Eliciting these physical responses in a virtual space. And then so when we talk about empathy, okay, I can read something, but am I really supposed to feel about this character? Am I really? But if I'm in a virtual reality set or a simulation and I'm sitting next to a person and they're talking to me about, the trouble that they went through, or if I'm able to go through what they actually went through, that's going to change the world. And I think that's changing the world now.
Oh my gosh, I love what you said, how you feel it, because that's exactly the only time I remember stuff. So if I want to remember, like I'm going to play a show with 27 songs, I'm going to play bass and I'm going to remember it, it's in my whole body. There's nothing else happening in my body when I'm doing that and learning. But I never thought of it that way, but that's true for me. I can't just look at something and go, I remember it. No, especially my students' names.
Yes.
Right. I have to think to something about them first. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That makes you feel a way. That's right.
It's so true. So let's talk about, I'm going to show some examples just to get started, but I wanted to talk about some of the things going on in EON that's so fun and so important before we start. So a couple of the things that I love is avatars. So one of the things, being a DEI person and, that I publish and all that is, avatars are important. And and of course, and for me, I like to always be a sci-fi, person and look pretty cool. But the new technology now, there's an app called Ready Player Me that we're partnering with, that it takes an image of your face. And so you can make it realistic to you. And I'll show you my avatar in a little bit. And but it's nice. So then you can customize it. So, and then the other thing that's cool about the new technology is motion capture used to be so hard. And now you can stand back from your webcam and do movement. So if I wanted to train someone to put something together or do certain things, I can actually record my movements.
Yes.
And put that in my avatar. So that's changing really quick. And we're in EON switching to those avatars. So I'm very proud of that. And I think it's very, very important to be able to portray people how you want to be portrayed. And, I just think it's really important. it's probably weird looking for me, but my father's from India, and like people just don't know like your background. They just assume certain things and certain things going on in the world, and you hear stuff, and it's like, dude, like I'm like from all over, like you don't know. And for you, it's different. And I know studying it, I went to Cal State Fullerton. Studying with that cohort, you know, I really learned about, you know, all the things that you talked about, you know, difficulties in your pathway in your life and your background and your ethnicity. And so I know it's different. And that's, you know, the group that I studied with for 3 years. And so I really have a deep appreciation for it.
Wow. That's thank you for making that an awareness, putting that in, being okay with us being okay with being us, right? Like this is, and I think this is the beauty of it. I think that's what you're expressing, right? Like this space to be you, right? And be okay being you. And it's, and giving yourself a place to express yourself in any way you want to, right? Like, yeah, maybe I want to, you know, there's me like this as well, right? Right? It produces a whole different like experience. And I think that's what we're starting to experiment with more. And we're starting to understand now that we're like overlaying our physical environment with this digital data. Like we're using QR codes now. And, you know, before it was a thing. Let me download a QR code reading app, right? And then open it up. And maybe I allowed it to access my camera. Maybe not. I don't know. Am I that technologically advanced? But it was a thing to actually read a QR code. Now it's like, where's a menu? Oh, it's on the table. Did you scan your QR code? And it's like, wait a minute, like the world is changing like in an instant. And now it's just consume. Now it's an expectation that if you're not privy to the extra data that is available to you in the world now, everywhere around you, then you're at a loss and you're at a deficit. Interestingly enough, although it doesn't cost anything, they're not making it cost anything to be a part of. Or is it a cost? And I think that's what we're really finding out. Like, what's going to be the cost of moving into the digital space? Like, and what's going to be our benefits? There's always an opportunity cost, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yes. All I know is Amazon has a lot of airplanes. Every time I've been to Sacramento, I see them sitting up.
Yes.
So
when you brought up the piece around being able to mimic or capture movements, it made me think of classical instruments. So my little girl, she has a flute, and it kills me that, you know, when she's in the house and she's trying to practice a flute, it's you know, it's a sound, right? Like it's not easy to like encapsulate someone playing the flute or practicing the flute. And as you can imagine, practicing means you're not, you know, you're trying to become good at it, right? Yeah. And so it made me think that why not just make these things silent and give headphones. So now when we're working with this virtual reality, I'm thinking that we can bring the classical instruments back into all of the schools, back into all of the homes where we're no longer, now you don't have to find a new place for the drum set. You don't have to tell the kid with the electric guitar that's riffing, you know, at 11 o'clock at night to go outside, right? Like, so that's a really exciting thought.
So true. Of course, I don't follow that, so I just blast my bass amp at full 11 and practice on I get little notes in my mailbox, though.
That's right.
I just like the whole room vibrating for some reason.
Yes.
That's a bass player problem, though.
Yes, it is. I'm a lifelong bassist. I love it.
Oh, awesome. Yes. Yeah, I'm in love with it. So let's so you should hopefully see my screen. Do you see like a Tesla charger? Yes, okay, awesome. Okay. So let's talk about a couple things that I think in workforce and makerspaces are pretty cool. We have a lot of new stuff in the app. And one of the new things is digital twins and Merge XR. And the reason this is so important, in fact, I'll play this and talk about it while it's going through. So in this example, you can take a LiDAR scanner, which is like when you have your new phones or tablets and they have 3 cameras, you can download a free app here. We're using Scaniverse, and you just download it and you just point it just like you're taking a video. And those red lines means it's capturing information about that in 3D. So you walk around for 15 to 20 seconds, and then it gets what I would say is imperfect capture, but it doesn't matter because you're going to overlay this to a real object. So the way the industry uses this now is they'll take a part and they'll scan it, and then they'll overlay the real one, and they hide the scan they made. And what you can do about this is you can use that model now to attach information. In EON and also in this, we use artificial intelligence to do that. So this Tesla charger that we scanned, we're taking a snapshot, we're going to bring it in EON, and then we're going to align it with the real one using some LiDAR alignment technology, excuse me, in our Merge XR tool. So in industry, what they could do is like they can go through this alignment, and then they can use sensors on the real one and figure out like how many cars are there, how many, when does it need replacing? Is it in full use? Do they need to move it to another location? I mean, all kinds of, do they need more of these in this location? Any kind of thing like that. And you can see here, you just put 3 dots from the scan. So here you're looking through your tablet or your phone, and just, you see your scan because this is an EON now, and then you see the real standing next to the real one. You just 1, 2, 3 dots and overlay them in that space. So you're overlaying a digital twin. Wow. To get technology. And my favorite example, and I mentioned it before, but in Las Vegas, they did this in their entire city. They put sensors all over the place, and they use it to modernize their city, like parking lots, new hotels, knocking down old stuff, widening streets, like all of that. Wow. But the information's on that digital twin that's hiding. And they did, if you're doing a big overlay, they're using drones and everything, and came up with a 3D model and then overlaid that on the city. So they see the real city, but now they know where all these sensors are on the digital twin. So this is the way companies now are doing a lot of stuff, because it's such a great way to do it. So you can have information, overlaid, and then you can sit in your office and then analyze the whole world from where you're at once you do this procedure of digital twins. So I feel like it's a pretty important thing for students to know about and learn about, and be able to do it. In EON, it's a new product, and it's pretty easy to do. The whole thing takes maybe 2 minutes. And then now here, just a little sample showing using artificial intelligence, start adding video and information to that twin. And you can see the twin is hiding now behind that real model.
Oh, wow.
So, so this is something where that model, then if you did a scan or you had a 3D model relating to, Makerspace, is something where you could be doing this with all the stuff that you make there. And Absolutely. Then talk about how the kind of the industrial applications on it. So that's one example I wanted to show is that product, just the application for it is just, it's huge and growing fast. So I think it's something like that students would really want to know, or, need to know about, kind of getting in industry. Like, what is that digital twin and why do we have it now?
Absolutely. It stretches across all industries, right? And so this is when we talk about VR itself as an industry, and one of the beautiful pieces that makes it really a great world is with any industry, there's biases that come along with it, and it's typically baked in. And so with VR, we can basically ensure that we build it with diversity in mind. We can ensure that we build these digital twins without some of the biases that we've had previously, because we're consciously aware that they're present, right? And so now we can edit, if you would. Also, what that allows for is in-home inspection, in-home, so I have this thing I have going on in my mind. It's familiarity breeds trust. Trust breeds vulnerability, and then vulnerability breeds feelings of love. And so from the comfort of your home, that's when you can start to generate more feelings of trust, which would open you up to more. You're vulnerable and open to more learning, right? Yeah. And so if I have a 3D printer and it's cutting edge technology, and you might be intimidated by it, inside of the Makerspace, I can create a digital twin, and you can learn about it inside of the house, right? You can learn about it inside of your bedroom, inside of your dorm, right? Inside of your car, if you want to, on your little mobile device, right before you come inside. So you're no longer just stuck, I'm afraid, I'm around other people, I might have social anxiety, whatever the case may be. Let us create now a world where you can explore these items that exist in the physical world. Also, we're currently in, what there's different terms for it. Climate, pick a term, right? This is the climate revolution, right? After the industrial revolution, it's the climate revolution. And so we need to make a lot of changes based on our weather patterns and how they're changing. Now we're having like entire rivers flow through our atmosphere, like randomly dumping like millions of gallons of water in random places. So we need to upgrade our network of water systems. So does that mean we're gonna now like go out and build a prototype of a new system and physically build it and rip up all these additional resources out of the planet and make something that might not work? How about we use virtual reality to do that? How about we create these scans? How about we as the city of Las Vegas did, scan our entire environment and then make design plans to fix the water system, the overflows in sewage, right? Like we have to prepare for these things now, especially in California, because we are dealing with the horrible drought and now wildfires. So if we're not working on water sustainability projects, I'm concerned for the future. Yeah.
Wow. You have so many good points that now I want you to speak on my Comic-Con panel.
Yes. I will say yes right now if that's yes.
Oh, awesome. Cool. I work with the designer, Stephen Burns, who he's an amazing, he's been on one of my webinars, and he's a designer, but he also writes the books for Adobe. And Steve's a professor I've known for a long time, and he's just got amazing things that he can do in Blender and 3D Studio Max and Lightroom and all the stuff. And then he thinks about real designs. He designed Star Trek stuff for actual real shows.
Whoa!
Chips and all that.
Yes, please.
Yeah, and so and then man, you'd complete the story on how it all works.
I am a lifelong Trekkie. I'm lifelong. I still watch it to this day. Literally, William Shatner. I still watch that.
Me too. Yes. I love it. Yeah, now I'm on the new Picard.
Yes, which is I have to say I'm brought in. They brought me in.
They're going to Borg. They went back to Borg and Q. I'm back in. So
that's right.
I'm back in. So talking about sci-fi, this is an unconventional webinar, which I love because this is like the creatives out there that really think about all this stuff like we do. And I want to talk in that same vein about, I mentioned I am a Batman fan, but what I did here was I'm like, okay, let me challenge myself and just grab a bunch of free assets from Sketchfab. Sketchfab is an app where you house 3D assets. And we have a new product that just came out this week, a version 9.4, where these assets, you just can go on your phone and it says Sketchfab and you can upload them. So we have over 750,000 free ones from Sketchfab, and they change every week or every day. So these are what we did. And so I went around my city, Huntington Beach, and really worked with scale and like, what does that look like? So I'm going to park the Batmobile on the pier. Here I'm using the new Batman movie, and I'm making a digital twin where I'm using 3 points and replacing the new map, the virtual Batmobile with the new one, adding knowledge. And then, and then here I'm working with scale on where in Merge XR, I'm at the park by my house, and I brought the tumbler in and brought it in full scale, walk around. And what I love about these is you can walk inside of the models, a lot of them, if they're detailed enough, like this one is. So the thumbnails don't do them justice. So when you go into a model, you really got to bring it in your phone or your tablet, or if you have goggles, whatever. And this is just looking through my phone. So I'm just basically taking screen recordings of what I'm doing out there in the park, but then I add knowledge to artificial intelligence. So Merge XR, I love this one to scale. There's this little model with the Super Friends, and then I had the model take over the park. People are like literally standing behind me watching me do this. They're like, what is going on?
Wow.
There, it's like, it's real, but it's not, but it is. And I see it. And you can move all these guys. You can label them all. You can get information on each part. You can, so these models, what's cool is they're pieces. So you can move things around, change them. And then if you put your avatar in there, you can move your avatar. This one I just did because the model doesn't really do it justice. I'm like, I wonder if I can fly this thing, So there I am at my park.
Wow.
Flying around. And so just from that model, you can't really tell until you bring it into that one-to-one space, and there it's flying over my neighborhood. And I got it flying over the beach. Amazing. Yeah. And so it's really fun. And then I did a character study. This is kind of for my own students too, where we do a lot of film stuff and set design, so location scouting. So I had them, looking in one-to-one size. I could just walk up to the characters, and then I can kind of preview like, oh, what's my background going to be like? This one came out beautiful, the Joker at the ocean there. And this one I just did to show how I pop it into one-to-one scale. So I pop Batgirl into one-to-one scale, and it's just beautiful. And this one is the Super Friends taking over my neighborhood.
Wow.
But that Merge XR, it's just beautiful. And when I was on the pier too, people were like asking me all kinds of information and take pictures. It was amazing. Here's a Batmobile from the Batman versus Superman movie, which I know you're a Superman fan, but
yes,
it's just so engrossing. This is my first birthday. I mentioned before the call was a Batman party, and my favorite. This is kind of like I'm very happy about this, that I could put the Batman 66 Batmobile in my driveway and sit in the seat. So,
absolutely phenomenal.
I mean, just it's something I'd never get to do or see. And so, but this could be anything, right? This could be manufacturing stuff. I could be looking at chemical models here. I could be looking at a physics experiment. I could be doing a psychology experiment, how I feel about certain things. I could put scary objects there. How do I feel about it? How does this make? So for me, this makes me feel very happy.
Yes.
And then so that, I had the bat signal at the end of the pier there. And this is my favorite. That's actually my husband there standing. With your arm out. So everyone's like, what is he doing? This girl on the left's like, what is he doing? But I could see through my hand like where the car was. So I told him and stuck it on the pier. So this is, and this whole time, there's sound, of course, with all of this. So like when I go through in the driveway with knowledge portal. So the videos you could bring in are hosted on YouTube. And so what I do is if I want music, I bring in the YouTube. If I want my lecture, I bring in the YouTube. If I want my students to explain stuff, I bring in the YouTube. And that now you get the audio and the digital and everything all together. So there's a lot in there. But that Merge XR for me is where my mind just goes, wow, like, okay, I'm there. I'm learning this thing. Like I really, like you said, your whole body gets into it. Like I'm there. And it's really, there's no distractions at that point. I'm there, I'm looking, I'm feeling it, I remember it.
That's right.
So I wanted to see what you thought about all that.
So the other day, yesterday, so it's an experience. I was like, I'm going to talk about this during the conversation. And so last night I was brainstorming about a water sustainability like solution, or at least how do you build a coalition around that where it might not have existed before, but you have an idea. And so really identifying what pieces needed to be discussed. And so I'm writing on my iPad and I'm using my little digital pen and I'm writing in my little digital notes and I'm drawing and everything. And I get in the car and I'm on my way to the lab today. And I'm like, oh crap, I forgot my iPad. Right. And I'm like, and so I'm like, oh, wait. Is it still there? And so I went into my iPhone and I looked and I opened up my digital notes app and there it was. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like a glass pane. Like it doesn't matter where I am. Like all I need is and this is interesting, right? Yeah. All I need is this rectangular object that glows so I can have some kind of input panel, right? Yeah. And it's that. I was constrained last night with my digital pen. So I went to text, speech to text, right? Because I realized my baud rate or my bandwidth, right? So the bandwidth of the brain is infinite, right? Like there's really no at least from a metaphysical standpoint. A physical standpoint, I believe it's 16 bits. And you use 8 bits when you're listening to a person. And then when another person talks, or if you listen to yourself, that's the other 8 bits. And so your brain basically cannot process additional information. It has to do it in sequence, right? So if that's the case, and I'm trying to get all of this information out of this metaphysical state into a physical state, I got to go through a 16-bit channel. And, and that's driving, a million miles per hour down a 1-lane highway, sometimes going the opposite way. Right. And so it's really difficult to get stuff out. And so I was just stuck. I want a freer, more open way of being able to express myself and my ideas. And I think this is the beauty of this Merge XR. And then you guys created a tool that's really easy to use and pull in these different resources, right? Like you talk about audio, video, and the fact that you're outside, right? Let's not forget about that you were at the beach doing this. Let's not forget about that, right? Like that it's a completely beautiful experience, and you're expressing also in you're able now to express how you feel about something too, right? Like you can show the excitement, you can record your own voice, right, and add it in as a resource to this piece to denote your excitement about what you're talking about. And then maybe I can't find the right video. Maybe they're not saying what I want them to say. Maybe I can't find the right asset that or text that is explaining this concept to my students. Mm-hmm. Based on where I am, right, in a way that they get it, right, and so this gives a world. And you said people were walking past interaction. Now I don't have to create my lesson by myself either. Right. Now I'm the whole class can. Well, you don't understand derivatives. Well, anybody understand derivatives? Can you explain that? It creates a different. Let's work together and make us a simulation on how to calculate these things. So
I love that.
It's a brave new world.
I love that. I mean, it's so true. And I think when my whole career, the first thing I learned two things, and students taught me these for sure. When I was a new professor, I went through the book. I outlined everything. I had it all worked out, like how they're going to record music. I'm going to give them all the 100 steps. Right. They're we can just push the buttons, dude. We don't need all your stuff. We're not even going to get the book. So just tell us where the computer lab is at. Wow. And I was like, well, I made all these, and it turned out to be that was all backwards. So now, I completely changed my teaching. Actually, that sent me back to school because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Yes. I actually went back to school. I went to Long Beach, and I'm like, I need to learn how to teach. What is this all about? Why is all my preparation not working? They want to do it themselves. It's a different generation. Mm-hmm. So and it's perfect. This is a perfect app built for that generation. Yeah. You hop on, you go look at the million assets, you type your own keywords, how you want to learn it. You bring in, I can make demos, but they're always going to come up with something better for them. That's right. And that's what I've learned. And it's especially true. When I teach documentary filmmaking, I have no idea what's going to happen. Well, during the pandemic, I had people making documentaries on serving food to their Vietnamese communities and things I hadn't, just no idea. I have students now that help with, you might have heard of 1500 Sound Academy, but I'm a kind of consultant there in Inglewood. And they're the biggest hip hop composers. They've got over 100 Grammys doing music for everybody. Oh, wow. No, I didn't. That's a big California. 1500.
I'm just going to disclaimer if anyone's saying, what?
You're going to connect with 1500 is amazing. And so, every time I'm there, I'm a voting member of the Grammy. It's just been a long time composer, but they win every year. They're on all the songs. They're all the background. They're like the wrecking crew of hip hop.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I gotta do some research.
Yeah. So yeah. So, just saying it's just it's when students do that input, find their own assets, bring in their own questions, even record their own videos and make their own experiences that they're going to learn. And that's why I flip my classroom around. So I'll say, okay, here's a topic, get something approved by me that's within this realm of a documentary or long film or whatever it is. And then, I'll show them the things that I want them to do in there. It has to be this long and you have to color grade, whatever, all the things. But I let them then do their thing. I don't do it for them. And they love what they do. They learn better and they're passionate about it. They save it. And most importantly to me is it sets them off on their pathway to their own projects and their career and their continuing learning. Because I only got them for a term. So then I want them to be successful forever. And I know it's been working because now I have they're all on my Facebook and they're and so I've got a 20-year-old community of very happy people that, always have stuck to this learning. And so it's something that I think is critical as a teacher is let your students do bring their passion into every project. And I think it's very, very important to listen to them.
You are absolutely spot on. It's been what we've been finding as well. And finding as opposed to like, oh, you know, that was a thought and we like looked for it, which I think is like sometimes a little biased, right? And it's like, oh, if we do this, because the thought was if we build the makerspace, they will come. And that's not what we've been seeing. Like we've been all over the nation and that's not, it's part of it, but it's not all of it. And in a large part, it seems to be about the community, right? It seems to be, can I come in and am I free to self-express? And then am I represented here, right? And and that's what the space has given an opportunity for each student to express themselves in the way they want to express themselves. And then every month, there's some kind of day. Put an X on front of day. International something day, right? Yeah. Like something like, you know, cultural day, something, you know, Independence Day, right? Every month, there's a multitude of events that we have an opportunity to learn from. And so we took that opportunity and we gave it to our Makerspace students and we were like, hey, now let's learn our tools through the and cultural, let's learn about other people, let's learn about ourselves. It's a whole 360 experience. It's an experiential learning, hands-on learning, right? We all know about all the research and how they say, you know, it's better than, you know, just listening or just watching. It's all of it in feeling. And so, you know, we've seen like a 3D printout of an astronaut to represent Mae Jemison that then used acrylic as a box with a laser etched image of Mae Jemison and her face on the front of it. Like that was a representation for Black History Month. Yeah. Hey guys, we have Black History Month. You can use anything in the makerspace to create what you would like to create. And then boom. And like, I didn't think of that. And that's what we were talking about, right? Now we are able to become the unicorns by creating an environment that allows others to plant seeds, and we have no idea what's going to come out. And it's beautiful. And now we're in this world where everyone can create. Everyone can create. So how do we? And so that can be frustrating when you don't know how. Because I am a horrid TikToker. I don't know how to. I don't understand that thing at all. Am I even called a TikToker? Is that what it's called? I open up the app, I look at it, and I shut it down. I get confused on Instagram now, and and so I'm talking about this because, you know, there's a place here where we're expected to build a world for our future and the current learners to like build the future. But if I'm getting confused, right? If I'm getting frustrated now, I might have a tendency to go back to my old ways where I feel more comfortable. So I also realized I had to get uncomfortable and be in this space. It's a new space for everyone. And so and what helps new spaces and uncomfortability is the community. And I think that's the golden piece around the makerspace and now this virtual space. Now they're doing the research around how you're able to create bonds in the virtual space. So now you don't have to. So I might have been, you know, birthed in Harlem, New York, right? And what if I never got to California? Does that mean I should not have experienced the things that happen here? Should that mean I don't get a chance to walk down the street here? Not anymore. It might have meant that, you know, how many X numbers of years ago, but today I can now go to Huntington Beach, walk the pier, right? Lay out a few items for my students to learn from, set a field trip, have them go there, right? That's having them experience the beach. That's having them utilize and realize that the device that's in their pocket that's more powerful than the device that took our first astronauts to the moon, right? We understand that we're walking around with a more powerful computer in our pocket. So it kind of you can take that statement and make it into, we have to train our people to leverage this device that can build the future, and then put it into their hands and give them the tools. But we also have to do it ourselves for us. I know that I have to do some additional learning. I have to get comfortable with this new space that everyone is creating. And I think that's part of it. It accelerated. And I think it's because everyone got into the game. And so, you know.
Absolutely. I think that idea, though, that, you know, we used to make, even EON did, like individual experiences. Like we're going to make one product that helps you move levers in an airplane, or and just the idea that you don't have to be a Blender, expert or whatever, or a coder or no Python, but you can just look at an image and hit go, and then you're creating. Yeah. I think that technology is phenomenal, because that learning Blender or 3D Studio Max or any of those types of things is a showstopper for most people. Yes. And maybe not my students, but still, they're not going to create some of the beautiful stuff like even what I just showed you. I mean, it's a really, when you have access to infinity models, it's like the world is yours as a creator. Yeah. And hip hop was kind of like that too, right? So I studied that with my friends, in Inglewood, and how you take what you have, right? They didn't have like, grand pianos and all the stuff. They had like turntables, and they had drums, and then you create. And so like, and I just want to say it, I'm going to argue people every day, like, oh, that's not music. It is incredible cultural music, but that just, I'm not a big fan of ignorance. And so I learned, played with everybody, did the whole thing. So, and now I bring students into that world as professionals. So that's my job, right? I might not be an expert, but I'm going to understand, appreciate, and all of that. So I wanted to also talk about an example that I did in an airplane. And I'm going to show just a quick thing and see what you think about this, because I think for Makerspace too, it has like some amazing potential to share information across the globe. So I did this video with, I always invite people to my classroom, but I love this model because it's from Boeing, and they made a duplicate of, and on Sketchfab, you can see all their cockpits and different airline stuff. So I made this, and the videos were on, you'd see like it's explaining the whole thing. 7 during a descent. 50. So I'm learning all the things there. But then what I did is, with spatial meetings, is I invited a current captain to come and explain all this stuff to me. Unit. So
on the left side, we have the speed brake lever. In the center, we have the throttle.
So he goes through like 15 minutes explaining all the equipment in here. And the reason why I think this is a breakthrough is because, like, I know how many forms it takes me to bring people into my classroom, and it's worse now. And in Zoom, it's a little different. So you can do, but we're going back to class. But now I can do this whole thing, and I can save it. I could put it in Canvas or my LMS, whatever. And I can have spatial meetings with people from industry, my own colleagues. Maybe it's me and students. Maybe it's, of course, the avatars are going to change right now. So we talked about that, but that's what's in there from my current one, and they're changing though, I think in the next couple of months or so. But yeah, so I think those spatial meetings give you a lot of potential to meet people from in the industry. You might be meeting with an astronaut, and maybe you're in a space capsule, or it's just in Makerspaces. I was thinking maybe you're showing models to each other. You can actually bring your models, scan them, or even if they're a certain file like GLTF or whatever, you can bring them in, and other people can interact with your model like anywhere in the world. And you can print them if they're layered.
Yes.
So anywhere in the world too, and you can even have that as part of that experience, or a download information. So I was going to see. For me, spatial meetings is definitely a breakthrough in the workforce space.
Absolutely. One of our students is taking microbiology right now, and it gives us a great opportunity to come together to help and support, right? So one student is like, for the semester, she's going to be thinking about microbiology. So how about we go and, do a model of the cell, right? Like, and label all of the organelles and the mitochondria, and talk about ATP, adenine triphosphate, all that good stuff, right? And having a conversation, and like make it a, something that we work on together inside of the space, which is also part of her job. So it's going to give her these life skill sets that she can then go and use for a job, right? Yeah. So we were lucky enough to win a second grant, and so for a project to build an outdoor classroom. And so we're building an outdoor classroom, and we're going to leverage like hydroponics to grow food to help fight food insecurity in the community as well. So we're seeing this exactly what you're saying. We're seeing this as a place where you can leverage this intersection point. It's multidisciplinary, right? We have math classes inside of the Makerspace now, leveraging SketchUp actually, not Sketchfab, SketchUp, right? To build things like bridges, so that they can 3D print bridges and like study co-terminating angles and things of that nature, right? English class, right? Once again, like if you are studying a particular person, if you are writing, but it might not be your strongest output, right? Or like the strongest way to like self-express. Let's give you another way to express using the Makerspace. Go print a poster. Go laser etch a glass, or CNC a totem pole. You know, like those are the opportunities now afforded. Psychology. We 3D printed a brain scanning device, and we're buying the sensors, and we're going to use that plus virtual reality to see if we can determine if there is bias. Can you read bias by simply seeing faces? And now we saw studies, like you can read about it, but you know, can you walk down into your science and technology building, into your makerspace, and actually put on a helmet and see it yourself and experience it yourself? And I think that's really that's what we are. That's where we are. This is our current world, and we can't take our foot off the pedal. And I think that Exxon has given us like a turbo boost because of how easy it is to use this product. Because of like when you talk, it's about getting the assets into the creation. We can talk about you do have to create a system around creating the lesson, because it's everyone. Everyone can create. So everyone can create. So you can have folks create on their own, or you can have folks come together to create a lesson plan for the class, right? You have that option. But in order to bring in like video, that's simply like adding a link. In order to bring in digital assets, it's clicking a button and using AI. I was like, what? Artificial intelligence? No way. But this cloud thing, all we need is a glass pane. And now you're saying, forget the glass pane. Now you're putting us into the simulated space. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And I can't wait to see where we go.
Fantastic comments. I love it. I just wonder, I mean, I love this interview. First of all, you're so amazing.
You are. Well,
we think alike too. And it brought me back to college, where I remember feeling very inferior in my first class of people we were getting accredited at my college on our new program, bioengineering. And my senior year, they're like, okay, we want you to take a heart and then design something about it, and you know, something you're going to add to somebody with a failing heart. And so everyone did these like 20-page papers with all this math and all this. And I wasn't good at all the math and fluid math. Like I wasn't able to kind of grasp the visual between the math and what was going on. Mm-hmm. So what I did is I did a 2-page thing. I thought I was going to get an F. I drew my thing. I put how it's going to work. I literally jumped to, this is what I see. Right. I got the highest grade.
Wow.
Smarter people than me. And it brought me back to that day of like, wow, this is going to be my career. Like in me visualizing and then just sharing, transferring knowledge. I think those are my 2 best skills. And I think we're in that age now where I remember fighting in my college for like, we need to have some requirements around digital learning. Cause I remember it was like typing. Remember like 10, 20 years ago, there was like the requirement is you got to take a history and typing or whatever it was, you know, and I'm like, I think we need like, you know, one digital class. I don't know what it is, but you know, something. It's like we're changing here. So
exactly.
Here we are.
Right. Like, bridging the consciousness gap. It's like that gap between like, I get it. I'm just not able to get it out of me. And I need a different way to be able to do that. And now we have that way. And now, you know, and it's like, you know, it's continuing to sharpen its tool. This is like our fire. I was going to say fire. I don't know if I want to call it fire. We'll see. We'll see how far it goes.
So I just a couple last questions. So like use cases in the, you know, in the makerspace with AR, VR, do you have any favorite things you've done yet, or any ideas you want to do, some things like that?
So you know, this is great for prototyping. So we have, you know, we're talking about water sustainability, and we're in the middle of a desert. And so currently with right now we're just like brainstorming ideas around like water reclamation from like the atmosphere, because of that, like because there's rivers of water now running through the atmosphere due to the evaporation from the Arctic, right? The water had to go somewhere. Some went into the ocean. We know we have raised sea levels. where the rest of it go? Where did the rest of it go? So it went up into the atmosphere, and as we talked about earlier, randomly finding itself in the areas that is not used to having that much rainfall. And so since we have places in the world like Lake Chad that I'm interested in, that only has 10% left of the water from its original, from when we started recording it, right? And it I think it serves over 100 million people. Places like Nigeria, which would mean, if I'm correct, it would serve more than 100 million people then. We have to do something about that. And so how are we gonna truly conceptualize if we don't have a board? If we can't move from the whiteboard and drawing on a whiteboard and actually moving into a virtual space where we have this drone or whatever it's gonna be, if it's gonna be some kind of vast netting or some kind of I don't know. I don't want to give out all my ideas live. That's really
yeah.
So, but it's going really well, and this is what I'm so excited for with the AR and the VR. It's really difficult to explain to someone what you gave that perfect example, right? You had that thing, right? I have to explain how I'm going to create a device for this heart, right? That's failing, and how am I going to show that, right? And you use the picture. That is one of the best ways that you can communicate to someone else your idea. And to be able to go and draw it. We're already learning digital design from 3D printing. We're already focusing on design thinking. So that next step of building out our virtual environments, that next step of building out those digital assets and moving them and having them say something and solve problems of the future. To be able, fluid dynamics, right? We need to be able to model things. How are we going to model something? I don't want to find out in 50 years what it's going to feel like if we don't have an ozone layer, right? But we can model that. All right, we can model that. Let's do that instead.
That reminds me of a Star Trek episode. Remember the one where the sun was it? Anyways, for you Star Trek fans that know about the Vesican flute, that's the one where the sun destroys a planet.
That's right.
Watch it. That's I was thinking there because I did a webinar with a folklorist, and she said they build shrines in the Hollywood Forever Cemetery every year for Dia de los Muertos at her school, Otis College of Art and Design. But they can't conceptualize the space. So now they can go down and they can do images of the space, and then they can go back and knowing that and make a 3D virtual model of what they're going to build before. And then they know it's going to work. Because a lot of times what they've been doing until now is just hoping it's going to work. Wow. And so, even in folklore, I was like, I would have not thought of that. I need to model the space where we make our student projects.
Right.
We do city art, and for everyone to appreciate. And thousands of people come through there every year and look at their art.
You just changed the concept of the quad for me. I've been sitting here this whole time and had no thoughts around what we can do with the quad, right? With our digital assets and sending the students out there. No, just look through your phone. We got some things out there. You can learn from. Trust me, they're out there.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I guess we can talk for hours. I'm gonna have to do a webinar part 2 and let you ask me questions or you come up because you're so amazing and I love your creativity and your energy and I'd love to do stuff with you, Donnell. I mean, wow.
It's together. Our energy is really it works really well. Thank you for this.
Awesome. And close to Moreno Valley, so hoping to get out there soon. Invite me out there. I'll drive over and
yes, please come visit the Makerspace. Yes, we can give you
our phones and stuff. And I want to say thank you to Donnell and the entire school. Moreno Valley is a great place. I have many colleagues who have gone there and taught or been administrators. So happy you're in California, and we're lucky to have you. And please solve the water problems and those.
Working on it. I also think I might have solved the drone, how drones are only able to really fly for 15 minutes. I think last night I came up with how to solve that problem, but I can't say it once again.
Whoa.
Yes, it's quite fast. We have to talk about that. It's fascinating. Yeah.
So stay tuned for webinar number 2 with Mr. Donnell Layne. And thank you, sir, so much. I'll be sending links over for us to share with everybody, and I just want to thank you. It's an honor, and we will be together again.
Yes, we will. It's an honor. Moreno Valley College is fantastic. Please attend. Come visit the Makerspace. We're here for you. We're here for the community. Let's build together.
Absolutely. And with that, thank everybody, and I'll see you soon, Donnell.
Thank you. See you soon.
All right.
Bye.